Meeting when you're ready.
Good morning. This is Juan Armenta, Board President of the Physician's Assistant Board. I am calling to order the meeting this morning, scheduled for November 8th, 2021 at 8:30. Ms. Gompers, if you could call the roll, please. Okay, Ms. Gompers, you appear to be muted. If you could unmute and call the roll, please.
No, I can. Sure. Hello, can everyone hear me?
We can hear you now.
Awesome. Good morning. Charles Alexander. Charles Alexander.
Ariel, let's go ahead and move on. I know there were some attempts to reach out to Dr. Alexander that were unsuccessful, so he may be still trying to log in. So I think we have a quorum, so let's
Okay.
proceed.
Juan Armenta.
Present.
Jennifer Carlquist.
Present.
Sonia Early.
Present.
And I know Jed Grant is not present today.
Correct.
Diego Nzunza.
Present.
And welcome Vasco Dion Kidd.
Present.
Awesome. And that concludes the roll call.
All right, so it does appear we have a quorum, correct, Ms. Gompers?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. First of all, welcome back, Ms. Carlquist. We missed you last time, so welcome.
Thank you.
And new member, Dr. Kidd, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Armenta.
I would like to go ahead and take item 5 out of order, and let's get Dr. Kidd sworn in straight away. I'm going to read quickly his biography here that was provided to me. Vasco Dean Kidd, PAC, was appointed by Governor Newsom to the PAB on August 23rd, 2021. Dr. Kidd has been an associate clinical professor in the University of California, Irvine School of Medicine, Department of Orthopedic Surgery since 2021, and director of the Advanced Practice Providers Program at UCI Health since 2019. Dr. Kidd was director of Advanced Practice Providers and director of the Physician Assistant Orthopedic Surgery Fellowship Training Program at Arrowhead Orthopedics from 2016 to 2019. He was an assistant professor and academic coordinator at Moreno Valley College from 2013 to 2015, and at the University of Texas Health Science Center from 2010 to 2012. Dr. Kidd was a physician assistant at Kaiser Permanente from 03 to 10. He earned a Doctor of Health Science degree with concentration in global health at A.T. Still University, a Master of Science degree in Health Professions Education from Western University of Health Sciences, and a Master of Public Health degree from the University of California, Los Angeles. His term is 8/17/21 to 1/1/23. So Dr. Kidd, again, welcome. Your type of experience will certainly be helpful to the mission of the board. So welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Armenta. Thank you for that eloquent introduction. I appreciate that.
You bet. Let us go ahead and do the oath, sir, if that's okay. Can we turn on the video for that? I'll try one more time. My video says it's now up, but I don't know if anybody can see me. But Dr. Kidd, if you could turn on your video as well.
My video is up and running.
Okay. Well, I can't see it, so if you would repeat after me, sir. I, Vasco Dean Kidd,
I, Vasco Dion Kidd,
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, sir. You're sworn into the board.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure and honor to be a part of the Physician Assistant Board, and I look forward to engaging with the board on various issues and making sure that we carry out our mission for consumer protection. Thank you so much, Mr. Armenta.
You're very welcome. And I was just advised recently that perhaps our next meeting will be in person, so we'll all have an opportunity to once again meet in person. I will leave to Executive Officer Khan the contacting you, Dr. Kidd, to retrieve the signed oath. She can go over those details with you once we're concluded with the meeting or at your convenience.
Thank you so much.
Very good. The other item I'd like to take out of order is number 6, the nomination and election of Physicians Assistant Board officers. And to do that task, I've asked our counsel, Mr. Knotes, to take over that. Mr. Knotes, could you please guide us through that?
Good morning, Mr. Board President. I'm Michael Knotes. I'm serving as your counsel today, as you indicated, and I'll be going through the nominations for Board President and Board Vice President. Business and Professions Code Section 3509.5 states that the board shall elect annually a president and vice president from among its members. Typically, the nomination and election of board officers is held at the last meeting of the year. Do we have a nomination for board president for 2022?
Yes, hi, this is PA Early. I would like to nominate Juan Armenta for president of the Physician Assistant Board.
Hey, Mr. Armenta, do you accept the nomination for board president for 2022?
I do.
And is there a second?
This is Jen Cronquist. I'll second.
Excellent. Are there any other nominations for board president? Okay, so hearing none, nominations are now closed for board president. And can we, so there's a motion made essentially at this point for the nomination. I don't think we need an official motion at this point. So can we please call the roll on the election for Mr. Armenta for board president in 2022?
Okay. Charles Alexander. I'm just going to move on. I think he's still having trouble connecting. Juan Armenta.
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist.
Aye.
Sonia Early.
Aye.
Diego Nzunza.
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd.
Aye.
And a quick question, what do we do when we can't get a vote from Charles Alexander?
He's not present, so
Oh, okay.
we just treat him as he's absent for now, at least.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, that motion carries. Congratulations, President Armenta, for another year in 2022.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the confidence of my colleagues, and hopefully when we get back to in person, we'll enjoy these meetings even more than we have been able to do through this unusual platform. So, Mr. Knotes, I think we have another officer to nominate, and is that right?
Correct. Is there a nomination for board vice president for 2022?
This is Juan Armenta. I would like to nominate Sonia Early for vice president.
Excellent. Ms. Early, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
And do we have a second?
This is Jen Cronquist. I'll second.
Okay, so we have a nomination of Ms. Early, seconded by Ms. Carlquist. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none. Ariel, would you please call the roll in terms of the election of Ms. Early to Vice President?
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist, Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Diego Nzunza,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd.
Aye.
Thank you, and that concludes that vote.
Excellent, and congratulations, Ms. Early, for another year as Vice President.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate the confidence of our team, and I'm looking forward to working and continuing the work of the Physician Assistant Board. Thank you again.
Yeah, excellent. That concludes our elections for today.
Thank you, Mr. Knotes. That's great. Okay. Congratulations, Sonia. And let us now move to item number 3, which is consideration of the approval of the August 9th, 2021 board minutes. That is in everybody's packet. Do we have any comments from board members on the minutes? I reviewed them. It didn't see any changes. Does anybody have any other changes or comments that need to be made?
I agree. I read them as well, and I didn't see any changes that needed to be made as well.
Okay, outstanding. Mr. Knotes, I assume public comment before we vote, correct?
We would need a motion to accept and a second, and then public comment, and then we would vote on the motion, Mr. President.
Outstanding. Okay, so I will go ahead and make the motion to adopt the minutes as published in the meeting materials. Does anybody second that motion?
I'd like to second.
And that was Vice President Early. So we have a motion and a second. Before we vote, Madam Moderator, could you open the channel for public comment on the meetings, on the minutes?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I'm opening up the question and answer panel. We will refer to it as the Q&A panel throughout the meeting. And if any member of the public would like to comment on this agenda item, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I'm seeing no requests for public comment at this time. Mr. Board President, shall we close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very well. Public comment having been closed, we will now put the matter to the vote. Ms. Gompers, if you could call the roll, please.
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Diego Nzunza,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd,
Aye.
and that concludes this vote.
Very well. Obviously, the motion carries. So those minutes stand approved.
Good morning, President Armenta. Dr. Hawkins, may I speak?
Oh, yes, sir, please.
I had a little bit of trouble getting on. Dr. Randy Hawkins, just want to be recognized as being in the meeting. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Doctor, for your attendance. Okay, Ms. Gompers, if you would just note Doctor's attendance, please. All right, that moves us on to item number 4, which is public comments on items not listed on the agenda. And I understand we may have a comment from CAPA, but if we could open the Q&A panel for comment, I'd appreciate that, please.
All right, this is the moderator and the Q&A panel has been opened. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type. I would like to make a comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions for your reference. And we do have a request for comment from Ed Howard. Ed, I will give you the opportunity to unmute yourself. You'll have 3 minutes. I'll give you a 30-second warning. And Ed, you should be able to unmute yourself. There you go, you're unmuted.
Hi, good morning. Ed Howard on behalf of CAPA. Thank you, President Armenta, for the handoff, and congratulations to the new board member and the new officers. I'm commenting because just to raise an issue for the board's attention. On July 16th, earlier this year, of Public Health put out an all facilities letter related to the circumstances by which PAs may, under current law and a waiver issued during the pandemic, provide home health care, specifically sign home health care orders. Regrettably, the all facilities letter, which is 72.1, has raised quite a bit of confusion in the broader provider community about whether, in fact, PAs are able to provide such care and sign such orders. We have engaged very constructively with the Department of Public Health, and only last week received a very welcome letter from the department to Sutter's Home Health Care Division, clarifying that, of course, in fact, PAs are legally eligible to provide such care and sign such orders. We have currently asked the department to take the analysis in that letter and post it more widely, so that rather than having to have the department tailor make idiosyncratic letters for every provider, we can simply, if a confusion comes up again, point to the website. We had raised this issue with President Armenta. He was kind enough to say that we should raise it in public comment in case we may need to invoke the PAB to communicate with the department, simply to clarify what the law is. I will add that while it looks as though, with the aid of the department and Monica Wagner in particular, this particular issue will be resolved, there does appear to be some degree of education needed within the Department of Public Health about what PAs can and cannot do. This is not the first time we've had to intervene on behalf of PAs. We specifically, for example, had to intervene with very high level gubernatorial appointees when it came to PAs being excluded from the home
30
health
seconds.
floor. So just to raise the question, we may be asking for your help, President Armenta and honorable board members. And again, thank you for the opportunity to raise this issue with the board.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Howard did indeed reach out to me, and I asked him to raise it the public comment. I thought that would be the most efficient way to get it before the board as a body. My thinking is that we simply direct our executive officer to receive any correspondence or information that CAPA can provide along these lines, and then perhaps if the issue is not resolved or there's some educational matters that need to be attended to, that can be an agenda item for our next meeting, and the interim can be used to study the issues. Mr. Knotes, I assume that can just be a directive, or do we require a motion to enable her to do that?
Mr. President, I don't think we need a motion for that. It sounds like if there's any action that would need to be taken, it would happen at a subsequent meeting when the item's on the agenda.
Okay, very well. Then with that, is there any comment from other board members on my suggestion that we just asked our executive officer to be aware of this issue and to be prepared to receive that and inform us if it needs to be an agenda item for next time? Okay, hearing none, then that will be the directive issued to the executive officer. Again, thank you, Mr. Howard. Do we have any other public comments, Madam Moderator?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. We do not. Would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please, let's do so.
Okay, it's closed.
All right, so that moves, since we skipped moved 5 and 6, we are going to number 7 as the president's report. Component A is the waivers. As we know, we have been operating under waivers during the pandemic, and those waivers have once again, pardon me, have been extended to allow for a better pandemic response. Those materials are in the meeting packet, and they were issued at the close of, let's see, October 29th and September 28th. So, and March 30th continues. So these orders are continuing and probably for the foreseeable future. Item B, in forming our regulation package to implement SB 697, the members of COPPA, President Ed Howard, other past president as well, some other members took the time to meet with us and go through the regulation. It was a very productive meeting, and I think we have ended up at a pretty good spot for a regulatory package. So we thank COPPA for participating in that. Highly productive meeting, very cooperative, and that's the type of relationship we like to have with the stakeholders to move our the practice forward. Always keeping in mind protection of the public being our most paramount duty. So that concludes the president's report, item 7. Item 8 would be our executive officer's report. So, Ms. Khan, I will turn it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to start off with the pandemic response. The board's office is operational and open to the public during the COVID-19 pandemic. Board staff continues to be on a rotational telework schedule while ensuring that all operational needs are met. The next item is personnel. Effective November 1st, 2021, Virginia Gerard has filled the probation monitor position behind Christy Voong. Ms. Gerard received her bachelor's degree in English from California State University, Chico. Ms. Gerard began her state career in September 2004 as an investigator assistant with the Medical Board's probation unit, later promoting to an inspector, then probation analyst in the same unit. Ms. Gerard is a recent transfer from the Veterinary Medical Board, where she worked as a probation monitor from December 2019. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Gerard to the board, to the PAB team. With the probation monitor position filled, I'm pleased to announce that the board is now fully staffed. Next item is the information technology. On August 31st, 2021, board staff participated in a kickoff meeting with DCA's Office of Public Affairs to develop an instructional video to assist applicants with licensure. This video will provide instructions on how to submit an initial application in an effort to reduce any confusion with the application process. Once the instructional video is produced and finalized, it will be posted to the board's website and shared on the board's social media accounts. Board staff continues to review and redesign the board's website to upgrade to the latest template. The new design and layout of the website will streamline the information presented and make it more user-friendly. Lastly, the board continues to utilize its subscriber alert system, social media accounts, and website to maximize outreach and serve as the primary communication tools for licensees and members of the public. That concludes my report. I will take questions.
Ms. Khan, this is Juan Armenta. I just wanted to congratulate you on getting us fully staffed. And just if you could briefly comment on how you believe that will affect the progress and efficiency of your office moving forward, and what gaps the fully staffed status has helped fill.
The very first thing that we were able to do was bring enforcement in-house from medical board. Now we have our own dedicated enforcement staff, which is helping with our timelines as far as cases moving. We've never had a mid-management level. It was always the EO and then the analyst. Now we have that position also filled with Ms. Voong. Overall, I feel like we're going to be more efficient and also decreasing our timelines decreasing our timelines with enforcement matters. And also, as far as licensing, we've always had one staff at a part-time level, which we did a promotion in place, made that staff full-time. Now we have two, and with the retirement of the licensing staff, I don't know if you remember. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Anyway, so there's two staff members now for licensing. So we are meeting our 30-day timeline as far as processing licenses. So overall, it's very efficient. We're now we are fully staffed. So you will see all those timelines decreasing.
Well, that is outstanding news indeed. Any other comments from the members, please?
I just want to say congratulations. In all the years that I've been with the Physician Assistant Board, I don't think we've had full appointments for all of our staff members. So that's congratulations to our executive officer for completing that. Again, it's a, I don't know if everybody understands, that's a monumental thing that has just happened. Again, we've never been fully staffed, and so I'm looking forward, and our team has been excellent, has demonstrated excellence in making sure that all of our constituents have been licensed in the appropriate time frame, but this should help us in decreasing those numbers. So congratulations again, and all the hard work has paid off. So I'm super excited for you.
I just want to add, sorry, I mean, ever since I've become an EO, it's always been virtual, so it's very awkward to speak to a screen, but I'm hoping that we get to meet in person. And just to tell you that we were 4.5 staff when I started, or back in 2017. Now we're 10 staff members, so it's just letting you know how much we've grown.
Well, that's good news indeed. I know Sonia has been on the board for certainly longer than I have, so she's seen the changes, and I think being fully staffed and the ability to bring down the timelines, particularly for discipline, really will help us fulfill our mission in public protection while enabling delivery of care. So that's outstanding work indeed. Thank you, Rosanna. I assume that concludes your report, Rosanna?
Yes, it does.
Okay, any other comments? Very well. Thank you, Rosanna. And if we could move to number 9, the board activity reports, commencing with staff member Caldwell on licensing.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Moderator, if we could move forward one screen. So the reports start on board meeting packet. I guess the soft copy is page 69, no, 58.
So I think the moderator needs to move us ahead another page.
Yeah. The board meeting materials, the soft copy, it's page 58.
Right.
Up a couple of pages, maybe, Tricia.
Ah,
The title of the document would be licensing population by type. So I think we're still a couple of pages up. That's the beginning of the next report, so I apologize if they're not. On my board meeting packet, when I open it up, it says 58, 56. Try page 56, Tricia. Thank you so much. So this displays an overall glimpse of where we're at as far as licensing in terms of current, inactive, temporary support, so on and so forth. You guys can see that it's broken down. The lower left-hand side of the screen, it gives you what those initials mean as far as Ds for delinquent and so on and so forth. So currently we have 21,881 licensees. And currently we have 15,088 in that status that are current. The next screen. Summary of licensing activity. This gives you a glimpse of how many applications we received from new applicants between July 1st, 2021 and September 30th, 2021. So we received 485 applications. We approved 431, and we renewed 1,734 licenses. The next one. This is our pending application workload. This gives you a real good colorful glance at where we're at as far as the initial application and the desk age. So the desk age starts when somebody submits both a paper application and payment, and then it gets assigned to the application age, and then the desk age, once it's assigned to somebody, it starts a different clock, so to speak. So that pie section reflects applications that we are sitting at the 30-day range. We have 179. 31 to 60, we have 64 that are there. 61 to 90 is 25, and 91 plus. And a lot of the reasons that applications can be pending with the board, that doesn't mean that they haven't been reviewed. They've all received a review. They've all been provided an update. It means that we have maybe a small percentage of individuals that haven't passed their exam, so they're waiting to retake it, or maybe they applied too early and they haven't even finished school nor taken the exam. Some of the delays are due to getting the results of a background check. Occasionally we do get a rejection from a live scan or a fingerprint card that's submitted, so that can move somebody from a 0 to 30-day range onward. We do have a lot of people that don't respond to the board. Once they apply for licensure, we give them an update. We've been going through the drawer about every 3 months and providing them with subsequent updates to let them know you were originally applied on this date. Your application will expire on this date. Since we last provided you with an update, we haven't received the following document. So we're doing our best to reach out to them by phone and email about every 3 months when we don't see any activity within the licensing file. Application file, and that's what triggers those different timelines, is the 31 to 60, 61 to 90, 91 plus. Those could be a few of the reasons that would move an application from that 0 to 30-day range. But again, everybody's been reviewed, and we've done our best to reach out to everybody that's falling outside of that 0 to 30-day range. A lot of people that apply and are reviewed and licensed the same day. So we have a lot of people that are getting reviewed and licensed within 30 days, which is, I think, an amazing timeline for any board. So, and that final screen for that shows the additional pie would just be, there you go. That one, that's just the application age. Same thing, the application age is always going to be a little bit longer than the desk age because there's several days that an application may sit before it's assigned to a staff member due to just our workload or scheduled days off. We do print all the online applications a couple times a week and add them to the workload, but that would be the reason that you may see an application have, 3 to 5 days longer than the desk age. It's just because it hadn't been assigned to a specific staff member at that time. I think there's one. This is the licensing performance measures, and this gives you a good idea on how long it's taking to process an application. The target time that's highlighted in a yellowish color, we've actually increased that to 30 days so that it's a reasonable amount of time to ask our applicants to allow the board an opportunity to review their application and provide them with an update. So that target time will be changing on subsequent reports. Instead of 20 days, it'll be changed to 30. But right now you can see a couple of fields over where it says count and processing time, we're at 32. So we'll still be within that 30 days. I mean, right now we're at about a 3-week mark for reviews for anybody that has submitted an application on October 13th. We are reviewing those as that's the date that we're on. So if that gives you a glimpse of the current workload for the board, is we are reviewing applications that we received October 13th. So that's about 3 weeks. Questions?
Yes, Ms. Caldwell, this is Juan Armenta. So I guess the most important summary for me is the 32-day processing time indicates that once you have a completed application, it's taking us 32 days to give a decision. Is that what I understand from that?
The completed application would be, that's the time frame it took them from the time they submitted their application till the time they got licensed. So
Right.
a big portion of that is, yeah, it's about 32 days.
Okay, and then conversely, the next column, incomplete applications, and that's where there is some data missing, whether that be a response from the applicant or a background check or something like that. It's just not complete yet, correct? Okay. All right, so
The
that
review has
32
been
day.
provided.
Go ahead, please.
The review has been provided, but they're just incomplete, yes, because they haven't met all of the requirements.
Okay, so when our target is 30 days, which I agree is totally reasonable, I can't think anybody else on the board would suggest it's not, but we'll find out in a second. So the 32-day processing time for complete applications sounds like it's going to be just about in line with your target, so that's great. Okay, I don't have any more questions. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yes, I just had one quick question. So for the total licensee population, that's the 21,495. That's the total amount in the state of California. And then current licensees, that's the 14,835. Is that correct?
I think it was 15,121.
Oh, okay.
So there's a big portion of the 21,881 number. We have quite a few people that are delinquent, just for whatever reason they've chose not to renew their license. And then we have a lot of people that have canceled. So there's definitely some numbers in there, but currently active licensees practicing are the 15,088. And then we have a few people that are current and active is how they're labeled in the system, and that means that they've paid their fees, but they're not CME compliant, or they've chosen to be inactive in the system.
Got it. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Ms. Caldwell, the suspension category has 4,000 people in it. Could you detail a little bit what that suspension means? I assume it's partially fees, it's partially discipline. What type of situations fit into that suspension category?
You know what? I just noticed that myself, and I would have to do a little research and get back to you, Juan. Maybe, Rosanna, could you chime in as far as if that is part of the individuals that are disciplined? But that would be.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure,
The
sure.
licensing population by type report shows that we have 4,143 individuals that are suspension.
I have to go on that.
We have a separate category for surrendered. I'd have to check into that one. I apologize. I don't have the answer for you today.
That's fine. I'd imagine it's suspension for non-payment of fees, suspension for those type of administrative things, but also a category of suspension based on disciplinary. And yeah, just next time if we could have a better understanding of what that, because it is a sizable number. So I just want to have
It
an
is.
understanding of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments from Ms. Caldwell? All right, very good, Ms. Caldwell. Thank you for your report. Very informative. And with that, we'll move to Staff Member Melendez for the complaint compliance report. Complaint report. Thank you.
Can everybody hear me now? Okay,
Yes,
great.
we can hear you.
Morning. I will be providing you a section of the enforcement activity report in regards to the complaints for the first quarter. We have recently updated our report, and we will be focusing on the first quarter of July 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2021. As you can see, we have also provided stats from the previous fiscal year. This report will also show how we are trending this fiscal year to last. In the first category, can you please turn to, I believe it's page 62, yes. As you can see, our complaint volume, we have received 110 complaints. We have received convictions and arrest complaints. There's 4 of them that were received with a total of 114. Intake. We have received 139 cases assigned to the desk analyst. 0 complaints are pending at the intake level. Complaints and investigations. We have 10 complaints that were referred for investigation. 80 complaints that were closed. Complaints and investigations that were closed, and 207 complaints that are pending at the analyst desk. There are 87 investigations pending at the field. To investigation aging. The average age of pending investigations are 308 days. Investigations over 8 months old, there are 37 cases. I would like to move to the following chart. The following chart is on the complaint received by type and source. Oh, there should be another chart. I believe it's page 63 or 60. It's 63 out of 145 on the. Hello. Okay, thank you. So the following chart is on the complaints received by type and source. It explains itself. If you have any questions, please let me know. This concludes my portion of the report. But before I go, I want to add one more thing. I want to add that we, for our enforcement program, we have set up a medical consultant program now in-house. As in the past, we used medical boards program to have our cases reviewed. This will save time in the process of getting our cases reviewed. So I'm hoping that the timeframes will uh, will become lower in that part of the process. I would like to add that that currently we have 8 MCs that are signed up. In the future, when we update our website, I will be providing a advertisement to bring on more medical consultants, and so we will have an application to provide that's set up on our website so people can apply. Currently, right now, our medical consultants are MDs, but we are trying to figure out on how to have PAs involved as in the medical consultant program, and that concludes my section of the report. Thank you.
Mr. Melendez, the medical consultant, are those the people that we're relying on for expert opinion, and in conjunction with the Attorney General's office to determine if there's a departure from standard of care or unprofessional conduct?
Yes, but this will be at the complaint level. So this is at the complaint. This is just a preliminary review to determine where the case should move forward to the field or and so it's a preliminary review. Um, so that at this stage they determine whether we need to go forward or if it ends here.
Okay, so it's not necessarily the expert we would rely upon once the case is initiated. Just as just the consultation on the at the outset of the case to determine if it warrants further investigation.
Yes, and then once it goes to the field, there's an expert at that level.
Okay.
There's a
One
different process.
question. Complaints pending at desk analyst. Fiscal year before was 543. Quarter one, we're a little under 40%, 38% of that. That seems a little ahead. Any comments on why that may be? I mean, if we divide this into quarters, that should be about 25%. Is it just a calendar anomaly? Are there more complaints being produced? Is it part of a pandemic response? What insights can you offer there, if any?
If any, I would offer like the last quarter I had fewer cases. I have fewer cases come in. I'm looking at you're talking about the 207 number or?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, we have some cases that some cases can were held up in the process. If I'm waiting, I could be waiting for documentation from say medical records or a response from somebody. So that number can grow or it can go down. It just depends on if I'm waiting on what information I'm waiting for, or if I'm waiting for medical consultant review. So those causes that can cause our wait times, and that can make that number fluctuate uh, on that part.
Okay. All right. Understood. So we'll have a better feel for that as we move into subsequent quarters. If there's any type of trend there that we need to pay attention to, then is what you're telling me. It sounds like.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from members, please? All right. Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Melendez, for your report.
Thank you.
And let us move on to item C, which is the discipline report. Staff member Hayden, please.
Thank you, President Armenta. Good morning, everyone. I'll be presenting the discipline statistics for the first quarter of the fiscal year 2021-2022. The first quarter is from July 1st of 2021 through September 30th. So our first section is suspensions. There was one interim suspension order issued. I want to say that at the last board meeting, Jetta had a question about the Penal Code 23, the PC 23 orders and the interim suspension orders. We had gapped those together and brought the numbers together. So these are two different types of suspension. So now we will separate them to capture the numbers separately to eliminate any confusion. Anyway, so the next is the Office of the Attorney General. There were 7 cases initiated, 7 cases pending at the AG's office, and the average age of pending cases is 274. Also, I want to say at the last board meeting, President Armenta had requested the reason behind the decrease in the average age of the pending cases at the AG's office. I reached out to the AG's office and I'm waiting to hear back. But I can speak for the internal process changes that we have implemented to continue that decrease. As you know, the board has brought enforcement in-house for medical board and has dedicated staff to move the discipline cases. So once a case is referred for transmittal to the AG's office, it is done within 24 hours, and this helps with the timeline. For formal actions filed, withdrawn, and dismissed, there were 4 accusations filed. 1 accusation was dismissed. So for the administrative outcomes and final order, there were 2 licensees placed on probation, 1 license revoked, 2 licenses were surrendered. There were 2 petitions for termination of probation granted. And the next section is for the cite and fine. There was 1 citation issued. There were 2 that were resolved closed, and there's 1 citation pending. This concludes my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Hayden. Thank you for answering that question of the hopefully what will continue to be a trend line down on the average age of pending cases. I think we maximize our public protection function when we shorten up this time. So I'm glad to hear that. And if you would just consistently monitor any insights you can provide us as to what we're doing correctly to move that downward, that would be outstanding. It looks like overall, tough to tell from one quarter, but it looks like some progress is being made on the speed of this stuff and the amount of discipline, how quickly things are being done in terms of reaching a final decision. So that looks great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other questions from members or comments, please? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Hayden. That's a great report. I like to see these trends moving that direction. So thank you. All right. So now item D, Staff Member Vaughn, please, on the probation reports.
Thank you, President Armenta. So for the probation activity report in the first quarter of fiscal year 2021-22, which is the period of July 1st to September 30th, there were 2 licensees placed on probation, 4 licensees completed probation, and 2 licensees voluntarily surrendered their license. There was a total of 53 licensees on probation, and of those probationers, 10 were tolling and not receiving credit toward the completion of probation. So tolling occurs when a licensee is either living outside of California and not on active probation with that state's licensing authority, or is living in California and not practicing as a PA in California. As mentioned in previous meetings, the pandemic has impacted probationers and supervising physicians with submitting quarterly reports on timely. The board is continuing to work with the probationers and their supervising physicians with late submission of quarterly reports by extending the deadline for them to submit them. So this concludes the probation activity report. Do any board members have any questions?
Well, hearing none, Ms. Vong, let's go ahead and move into your diversion report.
Great. Moderator, if you could, oh, thank you. So for the diversion program activity report, in the first quarter of fiscal year 2021 and 22, one licensee entered Maximus, and the total number of participants were 4. This concludes the diversion program activity report. Are there any questions?
All right, we don't hear any, Ms. Vong, so I thank you for both reports. They look quite efficient. So hopefully we'll keep that up moving forward. Thank you, Ms. Vong.
Thank you.
Okay, director's update from the DCA staff is item number 10. So I assume we have someone here from DCA.
Mr. President, this is Michael. We should take public comment on item 9 before we move to 10, please.
Very well, thank you. Madam Moderator, if you would open the Q&A panel for any public comments on the board activity reports.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel, and if any member of the public would like to speak or make a comment on the agenda item, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and send it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I'm not seeing any requests for comment at this time. Mr. Board President, shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, that moves us to the report from the Department of Consumer Affairs. So if we could have that representative, please step forward.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Wonderful. Well, my name is Brianna Miller. I'm with the Board and Bureau Relations at the Department of Consumer Affairs, and thank you for allowing me an opportunity to provide a department update to your board this morning. And before I get started, I would first like to welcome Vasco Dion Kidd as the newest member of the board. Congratulations on your appointment, Member Kidd, and thank you for your willingness to serve. And first, I'd like to start my update by talking a little bit about COVID-19 safety measures and telework. DCA appreciates all board members, committee members, and staff who have continued to serve through a pandemic that has affected all of us in many ways. We're working together to find the right balance of staying connected and productive while keeping safe and healthy. DCA and its boards and bureaus continue to look to the future and use lessons learned to identify long-term efficiencies and policy changes. Staff are working in the office to provide the most effective consumer protection and public service while also utilizing telework where appropriate. Next, I'll discuss testing and vaccination verification. To combat the spread of COVID-19 and protect vulnerable communities, California has implemented enhanced safety measures for state employees and workers in healthcare settings. State employees must show proof of vaccination or be subject to regular COVID-19 testing. DCA's testing program kicked off in early October with the launch of the DCA Headquarters 1 pilot site. Select programs are designated to test at Headquarters 1, and the list of programs recently expanded due to the capabilities of the site. Board and committee members must follow health and safety protocols if they plan to visit a DCA location or attend an in-person board meeting. Members must verify vaccination or follow testing protocols. Please communicate any plans for in-person meetings as soon as possible so that DCA can assist with coordination of teleconference options for the public, vaccination verification, and COVID-19 testing. Next, I'll discuss remote meetings. DCA recognizes the difficulty of planning for future meetings as the pandemic continues to evolve. As the law stands today, remote meetings are allowed until January 31st, 2022, after which time meetings will need to be in person or, in person in accordance with all aspects of the Open Meetings Act. We don't know what additional changes to the law may be coming, but I think we all recognize there are benefits to remote meeting options, such as increased public participation, cost savings, and a lower carbon footprint due to reduced travel. DCA encourages boards and bureaus to continue utilizing remote meetings this year to protect the health of staff, board members, and the public. And we will keep you updated on any additional changes to meeting requirements. Moving on to a note about appointments and recruitment. Whether meeting remote or in person, DCA wants to help keep your board fully seated with excellent members and diverse voices. Currently, the board has 2 vacancies, 2 public members appointed by the governor and the Senate Rules Committee. And DCA's communications team has been working on a new communications toolkit to assist boards with member recruitment, which will be available in multiple languages before the end of the year. In the meantime, I encourage individuals who are interested in serving as a board member to visit the Board Member Resources Center, which is on DCA's homepage, to apply for an appointment. And next, I'll discuss scam alerts. DCA has been made aware of various scams affecting boards and bureaus. We have shared information about these scams on the DCA website and social media. Please take a moment to visit the DCA Fraud Alert website, which you can find by going to DCA's website, dca.ca.gov, to learn about these scams and how to protect yourself from malicious individuals. And finally, I'd like to provide you with a reminder about the required board member trainings and the learning management system. So, as that reminder, 2021 is a mandatory sexual harassment prevention training year. This means that all employees and board members are required to complete the training during this year, which is rapidly approaching its end. Board members can access this training through the Learning Management System, or LMS for short, which is DCA's training portal. We have created profiles for each of you in the LMS and informed your executive officer of the steps you will need to take to log in and access the training. Board and Bureau Relations is also happy to assist you with any questions or concerns you may have about using LMS. And that concludes my presentation. As always, Board and Bureau Relations is here to help, and if there's anything we can do to assist your board, please do not hesitate to reach out. So with that, I'll hand it back over to President Armenta. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Very insightful, and I understood that looks like our first meeting will be in person, and I didn't of next year would be likely in person. Is that not correct?
Yes, I understand that the first meeting you're planning for next year, it would be in February. So being that the law currently, the provisions allowing the way we're meeting right now would expire January 31st as it stands. Yes, your next meeting in person would follow all aspects of the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, and of course, between now and then, a lot can happen. Hopefully,
right.
We don't move backwards. So, okay, thank you, Ms. Miller. Any comments from the board members? Mr. Knotts, does this require a public comment?
Yes, Mr. President, we should take public comment for each agenda item.
Very well. Madam Moderator, if you could please open the Q&A panel to determine if there's any public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on this agenda item, please type. I would like to make a comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment.
This is Michael. We may not have taken public comment for item number 3, the approval of the minutes. So if anyone has public comment for that item, you can also make that at this time.
Michael, did we also skip over that for item number 8, the executive officer's report?
I'm not aware that we did, but if anyone has public comment for that item as well, certainly make it at this time.
Okay. So we'll give a few more seconds to determine if there's any public comment on those agenda items, 3, 8, and the current 10 Department of Consumer Affairs report.
All right, this is the moderator. I see no requests for public comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Please do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, very well. That moves us into the item 11, the budget update from our DCA budget analyst. If you would, please.
Yes, hi, good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you.
Good. Okay, perfect. My name is Suzanne Balkes, and I am one of the budget analysts at the Department of Consumer Affairs. I oversee Physician Assistance Fund, and I'm here to present on some of the materials we provided. And these are going to be on page 72 and 73. Thank you, perfect. Okay, so these materials, like the first one, it is fund condition statement that we currently have 2021 actuals and 2021 FM13 expenditure. So for the 2021 PY, we have a beginning balance of $4.8 million, which would give you about 18.1 months in reserve. And for current year 21-22, we have beginning balance of 4.7 million and 14.9 months in reserve. We are projecting full expenditure because when we did this report, we did not have FM1 and FM2 yet. So we just projected full expenditure for 21-22. Can we go to the next document, please? So in the next document we have is our expenditure report. And in the expenditure report, we have about $738,000 in personal service and about 1.6 million in O&E expenses. We are showing a total of about $2.4 million in expenditure, which create a saving of approximately 457,000 or almost about 16% in saving. And we currently have no concern for the fund. And based on these reports, we look to be in good spot. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you. My understanding is that our sweet spot for reserve was, what was it, 13 months or 12 months is the bottom, and we want to have no more than 16. What was that range, if you would?
So I know that a monthly reserve is 13% and higher is going to be fine. But right now, currently, based on what your board is at, we are currently in really good spot. And especially we are still did not have 21-22 actuals. So for now, even with we're predicting full expenditure, you are in really good spot right now.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a quick question. With the pandemic, I know we've been in this situation for just over or just less than 2 years. Do you know what the general or estimated cost savings was during that time period with no travel?
The completely saving, I don't have that information for now, but I would be able to look into it and I will get back to you on that.
Awesome, great, thank you.
Randy Hawkins, may I ask a question?
Please, Dr. Hawkins.
Just a question regarding all the services being brought in-house. Will we be able to update the board how we look when we have an accounting for all the new staff, everything being brought in-house from medical board to PA board?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's just when you might anticipate giving us a more accurate financial status when all the services, all the staffing that the PA board now has that it's responsible for.
So we have just now released, I believe last week, FM2 for 21-22. So once we will be doing the projection about this week, and I can be able to provide a new fund condition approximately next week.
Thank you.
And that way, yeah. So it will be an expenditure report with the FM1 and 2 actuals, and that way we're going to be projecting further also for the full staff, and we will be able to estimate what the board is right now.
Great. So it looks great now. Thank you.
Any other board comments? All right, hearing none, Madam Moderator, if you could open the Q&A panel to determine if there's any public comment on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I have opened up the Q&A, and if any member of the public would like to comment on this agenda item, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is a moderator. I see no requests for comment at this time. Mr. President, may I close the Q&A panel?
Please, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think this might be a good point for a quick comfort break. If we could reassemble in 15 minutes, that would get us at exactly the top of the hour at 10. Any objections to doing so?
Board President, this is Julie Caldwell.
Yes.
Hi, I just wanted a quick comment on the information that you asked for an explanation from earlier. So I had an error on my report, so my apologies first for that. But the licensing, when you asked, that seemed like a high number for the surrendered, it was supposed to be for canceled. So I was missing that information on that particular report. So the number is correct, but the abbreviation should have been canceled CD, I believe.
Okay, and that would be canceled due to the licensee being deceased or?
No, that would fall under a different category for deceased. So we have retired, deceased. We have different categories for that. But canceled would happen once the license is delinquent for 5 years. The license automatically cancels. So that would be the majority of the people that would fall into that category. For whatever reason, they have not renewed, and then their license stayed delinquent for 5 years and then canceled.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, we will stand in a brief recess and reassemble at 10 a.m. sharp. Thank you.
President, this is Michael. We should take roll after each break to make sure we've maintained a quorum.
Very well. So I will call. Yes.
Oh, I was just going to see if you were ready for me to take roll.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say we'll call back to order the meeting of the Physician's Assistant Board after break. And Ms. Gompers, if you would, please go ahead and take roll.
All right. I saw that Charles Alexander is here now.
Yes, I'm present.
All right, Charles Alexander's here.
Present.
Juan Armenta.
Present.
Jennifer Carlquist. Should I go back to her?
Yeah, circle back around.
All right. Sonia Early.
Present.
Diego Nzunza.
Present.
Randy Hawkins.
Here.
Vasco Dion Kidd.
Present.
And Jennifer Carlquist.
Well, with the addition of
The moderator, Jen, is logged in, but
go ahead, Madam Moderator. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, member Carlquist is logged into the meeting, but she's muted.
Hi, my mute just was able to come off. Thank you.
Ah.
Perfect. And that concludes the roll call.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome back, Charles. I'm sure you had some troubles getting in, so it's good to have you in.
Thank you. Yeah, it was quite a journey.
I'll bet. Okay. So we will carry on with item number 12, which is the approval of passing score for the 2022 physician assistant initial licensing examination and 2022 dates and location for the PA initial licensing examination. Turning to that item in the packet, it notes the Business and Professions Code 3515 that the board shall establish a passing score. And I suppose I'll make the motion. The motion would be to approve the passing score for the physician assistant initial licensing examination for year 2022 as established by the National Commission on Certification of Physicians Assistants. Is there any discussion on that, or before we ask for a second? Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'd like to second. This is Sonia Early.
Thank you, Vice President Early. Madam Moderator, if you would open the Q&A panel for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. The Q&A is now available, and if any member of the public would like to make a comment, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment at this time. Mr. Board President, shall I close the Q&A?
Yes, please, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Ms. Gompers, if you would call the vote.
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Diego Nzunza,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd.
Aye.
That concludes the vote.
Very well, the motion carries. And the next item then would be also pursuant to Business Code 3517. The times and places of the examination shall be fixed by the board. The locations are the Pearson View Professional Centers. These examinations are provided on a year-round basis, although there will be no testing December 18th through 31st, 2022. So I suppose the motion would be to approve that date time frame and those locations for the physician's assistant initial licensing examination for year 2022. Before I ask for seconds, are there any comments from board members? Very well. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second. Sonia Early.
Thank you, Vice President Early. Madam Moderator, if you would open the Q&A panel for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. The Q&A is now available. If any member of the public would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment at this time. Mr. Board President, shall I close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Gompers, if you would call the vote, please.
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Diego Nzunza,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd,
Aye.
and that concludes the vote.
Very well, thank you. That motion carries. And that closes item agenda 12. The next item is discussion and possible setting the schedule for the 2022 board meeting dates and locations. You all should have the calendar that was prepared for us in front of you. And the proposed meeting dates you can see will be Monday, February 7th, Monday, May 9th, August 8th, Monday, and November 7th, Monday. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Khan, but the traditional Southern California meeting would be is at the August meeting. So that may be, we've done it before in San Diego. The other dates, of course, would be at the DCA building in Sacramento, which we're all familiar with, except for Dr. Kidd, and he will shortly become familiar with it in February. So is there any discussion on these dates or locations?
I was interested in speaking about the August 8th date. I know that we try to have our meetings less than 100 days, if I'm not mistaken, but would it be a problem to possibly move that meeting back to the 15th, August 15th?
Rosanna, any difficulties with that?
Not at all. These are just proposed dates, and we had in mind that if this, continues as far as having WebEx meetings, we were planning we scheduled it for Mondays. However, our August meeting is always in conjunction with the CAPA conference. If we can, look at that date or that meeting at a February board meeting, just to see where CAPA is, or if CAPA wants to comment when they're going to have their conference. We can set that today or, in the follow-up meeting.
Well, since we have some time, why don't we, let me suggest this. Maybe we just set the February meeting and defer the action on the other dates and places until we have further input from CAPA on when their date is going to be and location, because I think it is useful for us to have it at the same facility as we've had in the past, and that just gives us better public input, and with one of these stakeholders, I think that's a nice symbiotic thing to do. Any thoughts on that, fellow board members?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
I agree. This is Jen.
Okay, so then I suppose the motion would be to fix the Monday, February 7th date in Sacramento. Are there any seconds to do that?
I'd like to second. Thank you. Sonia Early.
Okay. Madam, any other motions with respect to the February date? Or is that it? Okay. So, Madam Moderator, if you would open the question and answer panel to see if there's any public comment before we vote.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I have opened up the Q&A panel, and if any member of the public would like to make a comment, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We are displaying instructions, and we'll give you a moment. All right, I'm not seeing any requests for comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, thank you, please.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Gompers, if you would call the vote on the motion as stated.
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Diego Nzunza,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd.
Aye.
And that concludes the vote.
Okay, the motion carries, and the February 7th meeting will be fixed in Sacramento in person. Hopefully, we'll be able to carry that out. And then, Mr. Knotts, I don't think we need any motion to simply defer the other dates to the next meeting, correct?
No, we don't, Mr. President. We've taken public comment on the action for this item.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, so everybody make sure for next time we have these dates in mind. And of course, the executive officer will task someone to coordinate with CAPA to determine their location and time so we can see how we can best integrate if possible. Very well. The next item would be number 14th, and I believe Dr. Hawkins, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and good morning again. So, presentation for the Medical Board of California. I'll be speaking on two items. One is a Health Profession Education Foundation, and the other is a Medical Board specifically. So, I was a board member on Health Profession Education Foundation. HPEF last met September 8th, 2021, and HPEF dissolution occurred on October 1st, 2021. HPEF has been incorporated into the new Department of Healthcare Access and Information, abbreviated HCAI. Physician assistants can investigate financial support programs by visiting the two following California portals, and encouraged to immediately do so to confirm types of support and application deadlines. These are grants, loan forgiveness, etc. The first one is under the Department of Health Care Access and Information, abbreviated HCAI.ca.gov. And the second one is the State of California Grant Portals, abbreviated grants, that's plural, GRANTS, grants.ca.gov. The second item is the Medical Board. Specifically, the Medical Board last met August 19th and 20th, and meets next week, November 18th and 19th. SB 806 was approved by the legislature. However, the Medical Board has requested amendments to the bill that reflects additional board priorities that were not met. They include the following briefly. Adequate increase to physician and surgeon fees. We did not get what we requested and need. Second, removal of the board's 2 to 4 month reserve requirements. Next, tolling the statute of limitations for subpoena enforcement. Next, enhanced medical record inspection authority. Next, timely access to physician pharmacy records. Next, establishing a licensed midwife board. And next was transfer of research psychoanalyst program to the Board of Psychology. We requested but also did not receive a public board member majority and approval for an item called a letter of advice, which was less than the letter of public reprimand. That ends my report. I'll take any questions if you have any questions or comments.
Excellent. Thank you, Doctor. Any comments or questions from the board? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Doctor, for your report. And
I was just going to say again, I would really strongly encourage physician assistants to visit those two portals to see if the cost of medical education being what it is, to visit those portals and make sure they're aware of the opening dates, the closing dates, and hunt around to see if they can get some support from the various grants, loan forgiveness, et cetera, programs. Visit those two portals. We should prominently display them.
You know, that's an interesting point. Do we have links on our website to that? Do you know, Dr. Hawkins?
I'm not sure, but we should put them there. Again, if you had HPEF before, it'll get routed to HCAI. So I think we should just put it on there, hcia.ca.gov and grants.ca.gov. This is something that the board should make our members aware of.
Okay. I do not think Oh, I'm echoing. And I don't know why. All right, it seems to have stopped. I don't think we need any board action if we simply, as a board, direct the executive officer to make inquiry to determine if we can install those links on our website. Is that correct, Mr. Knotts?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So any buddy on the board have any comments about directing the executive officer to see about putting on links? I mean, at minimum, bare minimum, it would increase traffic, but if it's there, hopefully we'll have more applicants see it and take advantage of those outstanding programs.
That would be excellent. And thank you so much, Dr. Hawkins, for making us aware of those two portals. Appreciate it.
Okay, very well. So that will be the directive, to have the CEO task that and look into how we can make that happen. Thank you, Dr. Hawkins. Very well. That moves us to item number 15. So Ms. Halvo, counsel, you have the floor.
Mr. President, we will need to take public comment for the prior item.
Of course. Okay. Madam Moderator, if you could open the Q&A panel,
Thank you.
allow public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. The Q&A panel is open, and if any member of the public wishes to make a comment, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions and will give you a moment. All right, I'm not seeing requests for comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, thank you, please.
You're welcome.
Okay. I gave you a false start, Ms. Halbo, but now you can go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. In your meeting materials is a memorandum that I've worked on with Jasmine Dillon. And the most important thing is this is bringing back to the board proposed regulation text for two packages that address what changes needed to be made to our regulations to adopt to Senate Bill 697. And we have worked with CAPA, and they sent another letter even after the changes that we'd made and the Med Board vote that we gave serious consideration to, and met with them again on October 13th. And after discussion both before and after meeting with CAPA, we've made some additional changes to the package. We want it to be as good as possible. And so in your memo materials, I've listed the changes starting with the package we're calling the SB 697 implementation text, because it's primarily focused on physician assistant practice and this big switch to having the practice agreement, and walked through each of the changes that were made. Attached at the end of the memo is that text yellow highlighted with double strikeouts to show where something is taken out and double underlines where it's showing things have been put in since our previous vote on this text. And then if you see in the memo, we walk through each of the sections and the changes, and then we talk about the changes to the other regulation package, which has minor changes that kind of got spun out from the SB 697, but didn't need Med Board approval for the language. And that's been called the Applications Exam Addresses and Record Keeping Regulation Package. And we have those changes for this second package, again, yellow highlighted and struck out and double strike out and underlined and double underlined if it's being added in. And I didn't realize just how long it was making this particular package item, but I asked that the staff put in a clean version with no highlights and no double strikeouts so that you have what the text it is you're adopting. And I could swear I actually see in the clean version some area where we have something underlined and struck out. In text, language, when you write text, if it is both underlined, that means it's added, and struck out means you changed your mind. So if there is anything like that in the clean text, that actually goes away and should have been taken out. And I'm sorry if you spot any of that. I was looking through before this and thought, wait a minute. But if you look at what we've got, yellow highlighted to show the changes, and then the clean versions of the text that you're adopting, anything that happens to be both underlined and struck out will simply go away. And it's indicated this way, but to make it clean, I try to get that out so that you're looking at a very clean copy. And it's like looking at a clean copy and I say, wait a minute, I think there's a smudge. But we've talked about each of the changes. Many of the changes on the application exams and addresses packages is small grammatical changes. We listened to Kappa and they provided useful information and arguments and went with making some of these changes to make the regulations more parallel with the new state of the law. And I kind of didn't want to walk through every change because there's a lot here, and that's why you were given a package with the highlighted version to kind of move through. But I'd be happy to take any questions. And when the board, if you're willing to review the changes and adopt them, I'd like the opportunity to read to you language for the motion to approve the revisions to the text, because there's some very specific things we want to have on the record as a part of your regulation package. So Mr. President, if people have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And when they're ready to move, if they just say, please, Karen, read the motion for this, and then I can read the motion and they can say, I adopt the motion as it was just read.
Very well. Thank you, Karen. So I'd imagine your motion is not breaking these down by each section, but the entire package as a whole, correct?
Yes, so there's two packages that we need to move forward. The SB 697 implementation one and the separate package of applications, exams, addresses, and record keeping.
Okay. I'd like to add to what Karen had to say. We did have two separate sessions with COPPA, and then we had, I believe, one or two separate study sessions, and Karen and Jasmine did tremendous work on this. It is a arduous process, as anybody that has seen regulations being made knows. So I think we have a pretty decent product. So board members, please fire away at any questions or comments you may have for Karen on the proposed packages, which I assume everybody has read and looked at the notes and Karen's memo. So any comments, please, from the board?
Hi, Karen. This is Dion Kidd. I know I'm relatively new to the board. So as I'm reading through this document, are we looking at the physician assistant board proposed language or the CAPA respectful suggestions that were made? Because there is some differences in opinion in terms of how CAPA feels about some of the language. So are we reconciling, the difference between those two, or has that already been done through some of the ad hoc meetings that you folks have had? Is there a general consensus regarding what we're looking at and what we're going to be voting on?
Yes, this is the consensus of listening to CAPA's changes and discussing how the board can best move forward and use that change. So this language was hammered out over time. But as to the meeting, Sonia early added in her thoughts, and the board president discussed these things, and this is the final version of here's their suggestions, here's what we think is best for the committee to have, for the board to have in regulation. But the president can speak to that because he was at all the meetings.
Right, Dr. Kidd. Yes, let me fill you in on that. We did indeed. It was a methodical type of process where we had some proposed language, invited COPPA to comment. We studied their comments. made an adjustment and then yet had another meeting with CAPA to look at those adjustments and again process their comments. This was kind of a unique time and perhaps fortuitous because I guess our past president informed me that I'm the first non-PA to hold this office, but I'm also a lawyer and most of my practice is in within a regulatory framework, the Title VIII. So I am familiar with regulation. Of course, we have expert advice from Karen and Jasmine. So all of the comments from CAPA were incorporated the best we could. And of course, we input me from an ad hoc committee from a legal perspective. And of course, Sonia, as a well-experienced and well-regarded PA, had important input from the practical aspect. So this was the final product of going through that multiple stage process. And our estimation, the best product we could come up with to date. So yeah, it incorporates the short answer to your question is yes, this final product represents, in our estimation from the ad hoc committee, our best shot at it. Of course, like anything human, there are going to be some areas of disagreement, but we've pared those down pretty well, I think, from when we initiated the process to where we are now. So I hope that answers your question, Dr. Kidd.
Yes, it does. And thank you both to you and Sonia for working with CAPA on this. Could you highlight for me the differences that still exist between the PA board and CAPA on specific regulatory language?
Maybe Karen, do you have a summary of those? You could speak to that because I am printed these out and I don't have it on my computer screen, so I don't have the highlights. Could you speak to that?
I'm trying. I'm going to be spotting through what we had discussed. Let's see, and I need to look at the text itself with the highlights because we've gone over it so many times. Yeah, some of the items that were removed we had a secondized review by a senior legal counsel who really recommended we remove repeating definitions from statute. And when this text was originally drafted by staff, the whole concept of a practice agreement was this new paradigm, and she was trying to put in these definitions to be helpful. But the Office of Administrative they review, and they don't want everything that's in statute repeated in regulation. That would make the regulations huge. So that with that input from the senior reviewer, some things were struck just because they were repeats. Trying to look at the areas, it's not necessarily areas of disagreement. I know the representative from CAPA was here or at the meeting and could let you know, well, you know, we may still make a public comment during the comment period, and that's what having the public comment period does. It allows more input to make sure the regulations are as good as possible. I think because we worked with many of their changes, and I don't think that there's areas of continued conflict. They would be the one to say there was an area where the language we had about the necessity of a PA doing surgery with someone under general anesthesia, their job is to argue that PAs should be able to do their job, maybe perhaps with not so much oversight as we've had before. And we just felt as a public protection, a part of our consumer protection mandate, we needed to have the supervising physician available if something went wrong. So there in that section, there's some language that we had discussed with CAPA, and they did not continue to raise as we think it's a problem. So I think they understood why we were recommending it. Trying to find that. Okay, it is in section 1399.541, medical services performable. Early, we've talked with them several times now, and they had asked that the language be removed. And when we explained, well, this is why we have it, I thought, my sense is that we'd come to some agreement on that. That, yeah, it's under a subdivision I, paragraph 1, it talks about before performing surgical procedures, they want the supervising surgeon to review evidence that the assistant is trained and qualified. And what we do mention in the statement of reasons is that evidence can be the supervising physician's own experience with this individual, with the PA. But we're asking in the regulations that they, just like you do in surgery, you want them to stop, slow down, move through the list. Have they thought about this? Is this person capable? So that was an area where we had some conflict, but I think we've come to an agreement. So the reason I can't say, is there any way we're still really different from them? I don't think so. I think that we've done a good job of working with them, and we may have to wait for the public comment on this particular motion once the motion is made to find out if that's accurate. But that was my understanding, is that we'd come through and really worked with them so that they were, for the most part, quite comfortable with the language and these regulations.
Yeah, I think, Dr. Kidd, I think that's right. As I'm looking through this and looking at some old notes on my computer here, the biggest areas of contention that now have been whittled down to a fair consensus, I believe, were the immediate availability of a supervising physician, not a supervising physician, when general anesthesia is being performed. And that is to avoid the scenario where the surgeon completes part of the surgery, leaves the PA to close, and then something goes wrong. We don't want to have a supervising physician totally absent from the theater. That point has been around for a while, but I think we've whittled it down because immediately available is defined simply as being able to attend to the patient without delay. There were some iterations before that discussed particular methods of availability, electronic or phone or whatever, but we thought the consensus would be that is simply physically available and available to attend to the patient without any delay to prevent that nightmare scenario. The other point that was required some work is, as Karen mentioned, 1399.54B, and it did. We did some significant work there to whittle this down to the practice agreement, having procedures for the immediate care of patients who are in need of emergency care beyond the physician's assistance training and competency. Some of the earlier language, Kappa pointed out, might be too onerous. And I think our last discussion was that, well, what does this mean? Well, I think we just use the plain meaning rule, which is the first level we look at in defining what a regulation means. And all this means is that the practice agreement, they've considered it in the practice agreement. We know we have procedures. It doesn't mean that there's a checklist that you have to go through when there's an emergency. It's just we want you to have planned for it at the outset. In that office meeting where you have the participation, the practice agreement being put together, that those things are at least considered. That gives great deference to the competency, training, and professionalism of both the supervising physician and the PA. But we think it's a fair medium that allows us to fulfill our primary objective of public protection while respecting the contours of SB 697. So those were the two main areas that I think we reached a significant consensus on. A lot of the other stuff was really stylistic, and that has been, as Karen pointed out, whittled down by regulatory counsel telling us, hey, don't define this, don't define that, because it's repetitious to the statute. So I think I agree with Karen that we'll find out a little more in the public comment. But that's where we're at, and I hope that adequately informs you, Dr. Kidd, of the process.
Yeah, thank you, President Armenta. I really do appreciate that. Thank you for the highlights, Karen, as well. This really kind of helps me to understand where some of those gray areas were. So as a motion is made, there's no blind spot that I'm missing. So thank you so much.
Okay, great. Excellent questions from Dr. Kidd. Anybody else have any comments or questions on the regulatory packets? All right, Karen, why don't you do the motion language on the SB 697 implementation package, and before, of course, we take a vote, we will open it for public comment.
Okay, the board is asked to consider and approve, so the board would move to approve the proposed revisions to the language for the SB 697 implementation regulation package, sections 1399.502, 1399.540, 1399.541, and 1399.545. and direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency for review. And if no adverse comment published for 45-day public comment period, and if no adverse comments are received, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking process, adopt the text as noticed, and make any non-substantive changes to the package.
Okay, that is the motion. So I will go ahead and make that motion at this time. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Dr. Alexander.
Thank you, Dr. Alexander. So before we move forward, obviously we need to move to public comment.
Yeah.
So please, Madam Moderator, if you would open.
Mr. President, forgive me for interrupting, but we should, if there's any more board discussion, we should take that before public comment.
Very well. Sage advice. Any other board discussion? All right, hearing none, let's go ahead and open the Q&A panel. Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I have opened up the Q&A panel, and if any member of the public wishes to make a comment, please type, "I would like to make a comment," and send it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions for your reference. And we do have a request for comment from Ed Howard. So Ed, I will give you the opportunity to unmute yourself. So you should be unmuted, and you'll have 3 minutes. And Ed, you're unmuted.
Good morning, Mr. President Armenta and board members. Ed Howard on behalf of CAPA once more. Thank you again for allowing me to address you. We have no additional comments to the regulations as before you, both either on the implementation of SB 697 or the additional package. All of our issues we feel have been addressed. I'll simply have two observations. The first is that in implementing a bill that is such a sea change for a profession such as was SB 697, this was a very significant undertaking, and we cannot thank the board, President Armenta, and your excellent staff enough for the very thoughtful work that went into this real legacy project. So on behalf of CAPA, its board, and its members, I can't, and myself, please, I can't thank you enough. The second is a couple of technical changes that we only caught when we looked at it. I do believe these are non-substantive, but I'll simply observe for council that there appears to be a little bit of an inconsistency between how synonymous phrases of competence, training and competence, and education and training and experience are used. So for example, in the proposed 1399.540A, the phrase education, training, and experience is used. In subdivision C, the word competence is used. In D, in that section, the word competence is used. And in 0.545, we have the different phrase training and competence, 545B. But with those non-substantive observations, conclude again with our deepest gratitude to you, President Armenta, your colleagues on the board, and to PAB staff. And I'm pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Well, thank you, Mr. Howard, for those kind words. But this is a project that I think involved excellent work from Vice President Early, and of course, our team, including Karen Halbo and Jasmine Dillon, and of course our counsel, Michael Knotz. It is. I agree with you. It is a huge sea change in the profession. So I'm just delighted to hear that that we seem to be all on the same page in terms of the regulatory package. That is a monumental undertaking. As you know, Ed, you've been doing this for years, and to be able to get a regulatory package after such a significant change is, I think, congratulations are involved for everybody involved in the process to getting to a place where we have a good deal of consensus. So thank you, Ed. Any other public comments, Madam Moderator?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. There are no more requests for public comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Knotz, I think we are prepared to take a vote. Is that not your assessment?
It is, Mr. President, yes.
Very well. Ms. Gompers, would you please call the roll?
All right. Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Diego Nzunza,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd.
Aye.
And that concludes the vote.
Well, the motion carries, and again, I want to offer my congratulations to everybody. This is a very significant effort, very significant work done by the team, as led by Karen Halbo and assisted by Jasmine Dillon. So just outstanding work, people. It's difficult to imagine that we got to this point of such clean consensus. So I guess, Karen, the next part is the applications, exam scores, addresses, and record keeping component, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Before asking you to do that motion, any other comments from the board on this packet? Okay, hearing none. Karen, do you have a proposed motion to be read?
Yes, I do. So
Please do
it would
so.
be, thank you. So the board would move to approve and adopt the proposed revisions to the language for the applications, exams, addresses, and record keeping regulation package, sections 1399.506, 1399.507, 1399.511, and 1399.546, and direct staff to submit the text to the Director of Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency for review, and public notice, and if no adverse comments are received, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking process, adopt the text as noticed, and make any non-substantive changes to the package.
Okay, fellow members, we've heard the motion. Do I have somebody proposing that motion? Come on, folks, this is the easy one. The other one was the hard one. Somebody please make the motion.
This is Diego. I'll propose a motion.
Thank you, Diego.
Oh.
Any seconds?
This is Dr. Alexander. I'll second it.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Alexander. Mr. Knotts, before sending it to the Q&A panel, do you want me to ask again for any further board comments?
That would be in order, Mr. President, yes.
Thank you. So having heard that, any other comments from the board on the motion as proposed by member Annunzio and seconded by Dr. Alexander? All right, hearing none, Madam Moderator, if you could please open the Q&A panel for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. The Q&A panel is now available. If any member of the public would like to comment on this agenda item, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions. All right, I see no requests for comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Thank you. Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, so the motion as proposed by member Nzunza and seconded by Dr. Alexander is up for a vote. Ariel, would you please call that vote?
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Diego Nzunza,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd,
Aye.
and that concludes the vote.
Excellent. All right, the motion carries. Thank you, everybody, so much for the tremendous work that went into these packets. It really was a tremendous amount of work, and excellent that we got to this consensus. So that's congratulations to all of you. Okay, Karen, I guess we're moving on to item 15B.
Hi, this is Jasmine. I will be taking over item 15B, the regulatory update.
Thank you, Jasmine.
So the first package is the required actions against registered sex offenders. This package was completed and sent to the director and approved on November 4th. It was then sent to agency on November 5th with review requested to be completed by the end of the day today. However, the board does need to vote to adopt the proposed language for section 1399.523.5, which was published for the 45-day public comment period and on which no public comments were received. And Karen will be presenting that proposed text after this report. Moving on to the second package, titled License Renewal and Continuing Medical Education Required. The board will also need to vote to adopt the proposed language for section 1399.514 and section 1399.615 for publication to start the 45-day public comment period. And then Ms. Halbo will also be presenting that proposed text immediately after this report. The next package, labeled Implicit Bias Training and Approved Continuing Medical Education Programs. Staff is currently working with Regulations Counsel, Ms. Halbo, to complete the final documents and get this package to legal as soon as possible. And at the August 9th, 2021 board meeting, the board voted to reject the public comment, to adopt staff's proposed response to the comment and adopt the regulatory language. The next package is SB 697 implementation, which we just reviewed, and we will be preparing the initial documents for this package. And then the next package, SB 697, applications, exams, addresses, and record keeping was also, the text was just reviewed by the board, and initial documents will also be prepared for this package. The next package, number 6, retired status to include fingerprint requirement, is a new package for which initial documents are required, as well as the final package, which is the SB 1441, implement uniform standards related to substance abusing licensees and update of disciplinary guidelines. Initial documents are also required, and staff will be getting the language together for this package. And this concludes the regulatory update report. And if there are no questions, I will pass it back to Karen Halbo, our Regulations Counsel, to present the proposed text for adoption by the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Any comments from board members, please, on this packet? Okay, hearing none. Karen, could you please read the motion proposed for the board?
Okay. So the proposed motion would be for the board to adopt the proposed language as was noticed for the required actions against registered sex offenders, which is 16 CCR section 1399.523.5 regulation package, and have the final documents have been submitted to the director of DCA and to the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency for their review. And upon receiving it, that the board authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking process and make any non-substantive changes to the package.
All right, very well. Having heard the motion, is there a somebody like to put the motion forward?
We'll make the motion. This is Jen Carlquist.
Thank you, Jen. Is there a second on the motion?
I'd like to second. This is Sonia Early.
Thank you, Sonia. Any further comment from board members on the motion as proposed? Hearing none, Madam Moderator, if you could open the Q&A panel for public comment, please.
Thank you. I've opened up the Q&A panel, and if any member of the public would like to make a comment, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions for your reference, and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for public comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, very well. Ms. Gompers, if you could call the vote, please.
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Diego Nzunza,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd,
Aye.
and that concludes the vote.
Very well, the motion carries. That will then conclude item 15B and close out item 15. Again, congratulations, team, in particular, Ms. Halbo and Ms. Dillon. Outstanding work, both of you, on getting this huge job done, and done in a manner that got us to a consensus point with one of our key stakeholders. So I can't thank you enough. Okay. Sorry?
Board President, we might check with Jasmine. I think she said that we needed a board vote on the item number 2. There was, and this is, I apologize to the board, but there has been a real sharpening of how we're doing regulations, and they've previously approved language, but the Office of Administrative Law is wanting the board to vote to adopt, and the word approve is being looked down on. And so there, it says here, we need to vote to adopt the proposed language. Is that correct, Jasmine?
Yes, that is correct, Karen.
Okay,
So is our prior motion inadequate because we said approve, or do we need to make a new motion to adopt just on item 2?
just on item 2, a motion to adopt for publishing for the 45-day comment period.
Okay, I will go ahead and make that motion. Could you read the specific language or tell us the specific language we would need so I can make that motion, please, Karen?
Sure. It's for the board to approve and adopt the revised language for the license renewal and continuing medical education requirements package, which is 16 CCR 1399.514 and 1399.615, and direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency for review, and send out for public notice. And if no adverse comments are received, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking process, adopt the text as noticed if needed, and make any non-substantive changes to the package.
Okay, so I made that motion. Does anybody second that motion?
I'll second. This is Sonia Early.
Thank you, Vice President Early. Any other further comments from the board members on the motion as read? Hearing none, Madam Moderator, if you could open the Q&A panel, please, for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. The Q&A panel is now available, and if any member of the public wishes to make a comment, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Gompers, if you could call the vote.
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Juan Armenta,
Aye.
Jennifer Carlquist,
Aye.
Sonia Early,
Aye.
Diego Nzunza,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kidd,
Aye.
and that completes the vote.
Very well, that motion carries, and I trust Jasmine and Karen that that is satisfactory now.
Yes, thank you.
All right, outstanding. So that concludes item 15. Our agenda normally has our lunch break here, but we're moving quite along. So unless anybody desires a comfort break, I propose that we continue along, noting that because Jed Grant is not here, Dr. Alexander, this next item would be yours. Any comments on taking another comfort break, or should we just continue on through?
Mr. President, again, Mr. Grant is not here. I believe he's deployed, and we didn't have a chance to discuss the update. So there's no report for item 16 today.
Okay. What is everybody's feeling? Should we just go ahead and continue through?
Yes, we can continue through if no one has any need for a break at this time.
I'm fine with that.
This is Rosanna. Jed did submit his report. It is displayed right now. I don't know why it's appearing very.
Pardon me.
You guys can see that?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
my bad then. I didn't see it. I'm sorry. Yeah.
but I don't know if you have any comments or if you would like to add anything to that.
My only comment is that it's the really typical report that Jed would normally give in terms of the number of programs in schools and what their status is right now. I believe, there are some new PA schools coming online, and I think that's going to increase the capacity of PAs in the state with the classes that they're enrolling. So that would be his general report. I don't think there's any other information or action that needs to be taken on this particular document that you're displaying.
Yeah, this does look, Dr. Alexander, like his updated report with the numbers on students. So I think this report can stand as the information for item number 16. Does anybody have any further comment on
Yes.
item 16?
I do. This is PA Early. I'd like to, this is a great report. And as Dr. Alexander already mentioned, we have an increased number of physician assistant schools coming on board and or developing in the state of California. With that, I had a question to pose. I know that we have now a full staff, but as we continue to grow in the state of California for the number of physician assistants, my question is, do we need additional help now that we have gotten to a level that we should have been in years past? But now, since that time period, we have doubled, almost tripled in capacity. And so there may be a need to have additional staff in Julie Caldwell's area. So maybe we can just think about that.
Thank you, Sonia. Any other comments? All right, Madam Moderator, if you'd open the Q&A panel for any public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I have opened up the Q&A panel, and if any member of the public would like to make a comment, please type. I would like to make a comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that brings us to item number 17, the report of the Legislative committee, Vice President Early Member Carlquist and Ms. Dillon. I'll let you assign yourselves as you see fit to move forward with this item.
Hi, this is Jasmine. I'll be presenting the report by the Legislative Committee. So it's not listed, but I just want to give a quick update on SB 48. A position letter was sent on August 24th, removing the board's opposed position and changing it to the watch position. And this bill was approved by the governor on October 4th, 2021. However, it does not apply to the physician assistant board, as you may recall, the bill actually expands the scheduled benefits to include an annual cognitive health assessment for Medi-Cal beneficiaries, and so was amended and approved. So I just wanted to give a quick update on that bill. Moving forward to AB 107. On August 24th, 2021, a board position letter was sent to the author's office to inform the author's office of its watch position, explaining the concerns regarding the bypass of the review process and the elimination of the provision making a temporary license invalid upon the denial of a license application. We did not receive any comment on that letter. And then the bill was actually approved by the governor on October 8th, 2021, and will become effective January 1st, 2022. And I believe that regulations will be needed for this bill to accommodate, to implement the bill. Moving forward to AB 646, expunge convictions. The board at its August 9th, 2021 meeting chose to maintain its watch position. And this is actually a 2-year bill located in the Assembly Committee on Business, Professions, and Consumer Protection. And as of the last meeting, there have been no new amendments or changes to this bill. Moving on to SB 731, Criminal Records Relief. This bill, at the August 9th, 2021 meeting, the board chose to maintain its opposed unless amended position. And this bill is currently located in the Assembly Committee on Appropriations. On September 10th, 2021, the bill was refused passage, but it could be taken up again in January 2022. And we will keep a close eye on this bill as the legislature reconvenes on January 3rd of 2022. As of the last meeting, no new amendments were made to this bill. Moving on to SB 806. At its August 9th, 2021 meeting, the board chose to maintain its support position. And on October 7th, 2021, the bill was approved by the governor. And as many of us know, this bill extends the existence of our board and makes various statutory changes to reflect the independence of the Physician Assistant Board as a standalone board, and also removes a number of outdated references to the Physician Assistant Board having to consult with or receive prior approval from the Medical Board of California prior to taking certain actions. Additionally, the bill removes the requirement that the board establish a passing score and time and place for each examination, since the current examination is administered by the National Commission on Certification of Physician Assistants. And moving on to the next bill, AB 562, Frontline COVID-19 Provider Mental Health Resiliency Act of 2021. This bill was voted on by the board to maintain its watch position at its August 9th, 2021 meeting, and it's currently located in the Senate Committee on Appropriations. And as of the last meeting, there have been no new amendments, so we will keep a close eye on this one as well into the coming year. The next bill, SB 395. At its August 9th, 2021 meeting, the board took a support position on this bill. And this bill was actually approved by the governor on October 4th, 2021. And as you may recall, this bill would establish the Health Careers Opportunity Grant Program under the administration of the Health Professions Education Foundation, for the purpose of improving access by underrepresented students from disadvantaged backgrounds to health professional programs offered by the state's public post-secondary education institutions. And I did consult with the author's staff because the board was concerned about any fiscal impact. However, I was informed that they do not anticipate any costs to the Healing Arts Boards in the implementation of the HCOP program. And then moving on to the last bill, AB 1306, Health Professions Careers Opportunity Program. At its August 9th, 2021 meeting, the board took a support position. And this bill is currently located in the Senate Committee on Appropriations, and no new amendments have been made since our last meeting. And I also consulted with the author's office on this bill, and they also concluded that they do not anticipate any costs to the Healing Arts Boards for this bill. And this concludes my report. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns?
Jasmine, if I understood you correctly, the criminal records relief 731, you said that was rejected in committee or somewhere just got killed in the process?
Yes, it just got killed in the process, but I was informed by Ryan Teacher, the legislative analyst, that the bill could be taken up again in January 2022. So once legislature reconvenes on January 3rd, because they are in interim recess right now, once they reconvene, I think that we'll have a better understanding of what the future of this bill is.
Okay. Yeah, that's one we have to keep an eye on, I think, for the reasons previously discussed, particularly the healing arts with the ability to dispense dangerous medications. I just find it astonishing that the healing arts are not excluded from this, but we'll see next time. And then, of course, SB 806 passed, which is great for the board. Those are my comments. Anybody else have any comments? Very well.
My only
please.
comment, I'm sorry, Mr. President, is I'm glad to see that SB 395 and AB 1306 are moving through quite nicely. So I thank the board for their support.
I have to tell you, Charles, I just while we were sitting here took pictures of this section of 1306 and 395 grants and sent it to a good friend of mine who runs here at the high school level their health and healing art programs, vocational programs, just to point it out to him. So I think that's just a terrific programs. Any other comments, folks? Pardon me. All right, no other comments from the board. Can we open it, please, Madam Moderator, for the Q&A panel?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. The Q&A panel is now available. If any member of the public wishes to make a comment, please type. I would like to make a comment and submit it to all panelists using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Dillon, for that report. Good work. This brings us to item 18, agenda items for next meeting. At the outset, obviously, we'll take up again the other 3 meetings for next year, location and times. Rosanna, any other items that you think we should note for the next meetings? And of course, any board members, please feel free to comment as well.
Just that approval of dates and locations, for the other meetings that we're going to have, that which is May, August, and November.
Right. Any other comments? Very well. Madam Moderator, if you could open for public comment, please.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to make a comment on agenda item 18, please type, "I would like to make a comment," using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Very well. That brings us to item 19, which is closed session for the purposes of discussing disciplinary matters and the performance of the executive officer. As the materials point out, once we move into closed session, the adjournment will be from within the closed session, so it will not be broadcast. So at the conclusion of these comments, and once we enter the closed section, the webcast will finish. Any other necessary comments or items that we need to look at, Mr. Knotts?
I don't believe so, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Well, I want to thank everybody for attendance. We are missing Jed, of course, and we wish him Godspeed in return and his difficulties that he's had to deal with. I want to again congratulate everybody on the regulatory package. That's just outstanding work. I've been part of seeing regulations made before, and this is as good as it gets, folks. So pat yourself on the back. And that includes COPPA as well for participating in the process in a very professional and conciliatory manner. So I want to congratulate them as well. So, okay, we will conclude the public portion. And Madam Moderator, if you will do what you need to do to move us into closed session, I would be appreciative.
Thank you, Mr. Board President.